Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DeFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now on to the show.
So Matt, I'm super excited to have you back on, finishing up, going over my assessment. And I know we're taking this deep dive into it. So we're really looking at like every piece of it, including the things that may not be related to me, so that any listener that's here can, listen to this and kind of get an idea of, hey, I need to take this assessment too. So I know that when you do an assessment with an actual client,
Right.
It does not take this long. So anyone listening, just know he's going to focus on the things that are key for you. And we're going to wrap up this today with some of the final things that aren't high on mine. So these are some things that maybe we wouldn't be talking about if we were actually having an assessment, but are things that, many of your clients are going to be facing. And so you're going to be talking to them about that. But before we jump back in, can you share with us again, Matt, about you, your company, and then we're going to jump into these 6 other things.
Yeah, sure. So again, it's Matt DeFrancesco. I've been in financial services for the last 16 years. And my focus has been with the small to mid-sized family business, kind of helping them to navigate all the intricacies of that business. And my particular focus now is in the automotive repair or automotive collision space, but I work with a number of different family businesses that are out there. So that's why I think this stuff is so important, because many times, many family businesses have never really thought beyond what's happening on the day-to-day basis. And these are really critical things because, life throws wrenches to you, and you need to be prepared for that, to both not only protect yourself, but to protect your family and your business. So that's where I think a lot of these considerations come in.
All right, awesome. And I know I want to make sure I say it at the beginning. We said it at the end last time, but everything we talked about is not financial advice. We are just going over a report and not advising, but explaining and sharing the stories and the processes with you. So if you're listening and you want to get financial advice, you contact Matt to actually hire him and retain him as your financial advisor. And like you said, yes, he does have a niche in the automotive and collision industry, but he works with family businesses from all over. We were just talking about how he works with a direct marketing company as well, doing their finances. So really, wherever you're at, if you're in a family business or small business, contact Matt for your financial needs. But this podcast is purely educational based, and that's what we're here for. Right. But I want to lead into the family part of it. You mentioned, how family is such a big part. And, that's something that's not big on my chart because, my daughter is 14 and has no interest in marketing.
Right. Exactly.
She's 14 and has interest in makeup and TV and books.
Yeah, exactly.
So of course she's not in my plan right now of, you're going to take over this business. So let's touch on, as a family dynamic where there is a family member that's super involved in the shop and maybe they want to take over the shop. I know last week we were mentioning how even dividing between 2, where the daughter is going to do the operations, the son is going to do more of the actual like nitty gritty and working in the shop part of it. So what are some family considerations and family succession? How do you work somebody through that process?
Well, the first step again is, and we talked about this earlier, I think the family meeting is vital in all of this because we've got to get all parties involved and get a lot of these things onto the table. They're not discussed in families. I mean, because typically we're busy doing so. We're running our businesses, kids have, when they're young, they've got dance, they've got sports, and everybody's running around. You kind of sit down, wolf down your food, and you're on to the next thing. And then all of a sudden, then the kids may come into the business, and even then, they're busy working in the business, and it's kind of the day-to-day grind stuff. I think the other issue that comes, and this is really funny because I see this all the time, that the owners, the founders, which are many times the parents, they just naturally assume that the kids know this stuff. Okay. And so what happens is a child comes into the business. The parents just naturally assume that they know what we know. They think they learn it through osmosis. And then the kids are in there in a deer in a headlight, with it like looking like a deer in the headlights. And all of a sudden now creates this friction because now the parents are like, what's wrong with them? There's nothing wrong with them. They've never learned the business. I think I talked about this in the earlier episode in the family meeting. I have I usually have the founders tell their story to the rest of the family, because many times they don't know those stories, and they don't know the blood, the sweat, the tears that they went through to build this thing up. And the other thing that I always tell the kids is that you need to understand something, especially if this is a business that was founded by, mom and dad, that this is just like a child for them. It's something that they gave birth to. It's something they've nurtured. It's something that they've helped to grow up. And so they're almost going to have an attachment to it like they have to you. And sometimes letting go of those strings is really hard for them. So you have to set, that's a lot of what I do, is setting the expectations, both with the parents, but then also with the kids, so that, now they start to understand each other a little better.
No, I think that's wonderful too, to set those expectations. And it's like how you related it, where, it is hard for us to let our kids go to college, or, go to school dances, even at the beginning, go to kindergarten, letting go of those things. And that is definitely how our business is too. And to be able to let it go. So I love that you set up those expectations. And you mentioned how sometimes like they don't understand all the intricacies of what goes into the business. So what are some things that you do and steps you take to help get the child, or not a child anymore, but the person
Right.
that you're leading it on to from the family member, to learn those intricacies, to be able to take over?
Well, I think the first step is really finding out what that child's passion and interests are. So, we talked about doing the personality tests. We talked about doing the value drivers report, those type of things. And what we want to try to do is identify where their skill sets are. If you have a child that's maybe more, and I use the DISC method, and I don't know if you're familiar with DISC, but DISC is D's are typically your dominant, direct. They're your leader types. I's are inspiring, influencing, kind of the life of the party people. Your S's are very steady, status quo. And then your C's are cautious, calculating. They're like your engineer types, detail oriented. So when we do these personality, we can kind of find, all right, where are they? I mean, if they're a SC, they might not be the best leader. Maybe you want one of the children that's a DI to do that. So I think helping to identify that. But that being said, even if a child isn't maybe wired that way, but has an interest in that, we can start to help them to become more of that type of leader. Because your personality type doesn't always necessarily determine that you're going to be an effective leader or not. All right. It's really about how much you're willing to take on the leadership, but we want to make sure we have the right people in the right seats. So for example, as I told you in my propane business client, the son is very operational. He loves working on equipment. He loves digging. He loves, all of those things. The daughter, she is much more administratively. She's much more detail oriented. She's a C. Okay. She's an SC. So looking at that, it's telling me, and where I'm guiding the families to say, all right, well, if we're going to look at a dual ownership, or they're going to basically be running it in conjunction with each other, then, the daughter, she should be doing the administrative end, because that's where she's wired. Operationally, because you like the mechanical end. But then I have to develop a synergy between the two of them, that they understand that one's not more important than the other. So it's about, again, managing the personalities that are there too. So I think that's really the first thing, is identifying where their skill sets are, where their interests are, and then starting to guide them into the best roles that are going to be appropriate for them.
Yeah, it's sounding like that you really have to be a psychologist to do your job at this point. You're a big
Exactly.
And I know, like, you probably have had families come to you, or maybe currently, where maybe they thought their child was going to take over the business, and you have those conversations, and that kid has no interest in it. They just have the obligation. They feel like, what do you do in those kind of situations? Is there ways to overcome it, or do you start looking outside? Like, talk me through some of those situations.
Yeah. So probably the first step that I had the owner is let's start looking through their employee roles and who are their key people. And then kind of going through the same process with them. What are they capable of? And maybe even we talk to them too, because maybe one of them has an interest in and taking over the business.
Mhm.
And that's actually, I mean, one of the collision shops that I work with, that's kind of the case that we are now. We have a younger son who has decided to take leadership, but also the key guys expressed a lot of this. And luckily, the synergy between them is very good.
Mhm.
So now we're looking at, they're going to be the leadership team on it.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's what we're developing. That's the process that we're developing with them. So, again, it's about training. All right.
Mhm.
Some of it is just leadership training, which, my 30 years of personal development, I think has equipped me to be able to give guidance in those areas and help them to start to learn the skills that it takes to become a leader. But again, if we start to get into operational things, I have experts in many different of these business areas who are operations specialists in that particular industry, which we will bring in to help them on that aspect. And then
Mhm.
I just help to coordinate the whole solution. I make sure that all all the loose ends are tied up is really what it comes down to. So it's almost like a conductor in an orchestra. You have all these moving parts, but it's the conductor that keeps all the instruments together to create the beautiful symphony. And that's really what my role is.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that topic. It's one that's really kind of near and dear to my heart because I'm passionate about helping families to create multiple generational wealth and how they can utilize the business, which is probably their most valuable asset, to achieve that. So we're going to continue in the next episode to learn out of other business considerations and income needs, especially when looking at when we do want to exit. There's many times where I find a gap between what the owners, the lifestyle that they want to have and the income that they want, and all of a sudden the resources that are out there. So we're going to talk about those things and how we can continue this process to grow the business and to plan for an exit in the future. So anyway, I'll look forward to talking with everybody real soon. And as always, every person's financial plan is different. So if you are interested in doing the assessment that Hannah's done, go to highliftfinancial.com and click on the Let's Talk button. It will get you on my calendar for 20 to 30 minutes just for us to chat to see if it's something that's right for you. So with that, let's make things happen. Let's make it a great day. God bless. And I'll look forward to seeing you next episode. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of High Lift Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment, legal, or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your business or personal planning. DeFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC, DBA High Lift Financial, is a registered investment advisor. Registration with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or any state security authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training.